FBI, CIA agents of Reddit. What's something that you can tell us without killing us? By Ask Reddit.
I worked with the Australian Federal Police with the Spider Squad doing computer stuff for them in regards to pedos and finding trafficking victims. It is the most heartbreaking work, but when you get them, the office looked like NASA after a Mars landing. Edit, left 3 and bit years ago but do get called up to lend a hat every now and then.
Of course they have something called Spider Squad in Australia. Geez.
Also known as Team Mortine for those pesky rock spiders that hang out on the web.
I was an analyst, not an agent. Officer. 0.85% of all classified material is classified because of how it was collected, not because it is juicy, useful. Yes, you boss and co-workers said that poo about you.
I heard just 2 days ago that there is a saying in the government, no one ever got fired for classifying a document. Hence there is huge excess secrecy.
This is just a matter of better safe than sorry. Usually it is initially classified by the first party to touch it, usually a lower-ranked individual. The easiest thing to do as the lower rank is to pass the buck. It will be up to the upper ranks to lower classification if necessary.
Yours is the most believable comment in this thread.
Yeah, that means 15% of all classified material is juicy. So hit us with the juice, CIA, FBI person.
My high school girlfriend worked for the National Reconnaissance Office after college. At the time, they were responsible for analyzing the nation's spy satellite photos. She told me 2 things. Edit. Credit, you, seditious 3.
Did they crunch the numbers to better understand size of the Russian cocks? The min, max, and potential for growth.
Mr. President, we must not allow a cockshaft gap.
No, but during the 80s we shipped condoms to Russia that were large size but labeled medium to F with them. https://medium.com/frequency-machine/incredible-moments-in-dash-in-dash-as-dash-and-russian-counterintelligence-5DD2769730.
This is the kind of petty I am glad for taxpayer money to be allocated for.
If a 60s-era State Route 71 could read a golf ball while hauling ass at 80,000 feet, I believe a satellite can take sexies of a Russian seaman.
Impressive as hell, but to be fair, Leo starts at approximately 525k feet and goes over 3 million feet, so we're in a whole different ball game. I was told the military gave NASA an old camera they weren't using anymore. It outclassed the Hubble by leaps and bounds, but the problem was getting it into space.
I believe that was the NRO, not the military. Edit, apparently the NRO is part of the DoD. And they actually made NASA agree to never turn it towards the Earth, because even though it was too old for them, it was still way better quality than what they were willing to admit having. Met an old, retired, CIA spook at a wedding reception. Spitting image of Colonel Sanders. He was amazing, so I asked him, I don't want you to tell me anything you can't, but I'd love to know, when Kennedy got killed, what was the talk around the water cooler in the office? He didn't halt, or pause to think. Hell, we all thought Johnson did it.
Johnson really did want to be president.
Plot twist, it wasn't LBJ but rather Ladybird Johnson that wanted him dead.
Hank Hill's voice, damn it Ladybird.
I also think Johnson was involved after reading the book Bloody Treason by Noel Tynan. However, just to contradict myself, the book Case Closed by Gerald Posner makes a very compelling case it was just Lee Harvey Oswald.
Vincent Bugliosi believed that Kennedy was the victim of conspiracy and went about researching and eventually writing a 1,600-page book along with another 1,000 pages of notes. His final conclusion was that Oswald did it and acted alone. He is also on record as stating that Robert Kennedy was definitely killed via conspiracy. The book is reclaiming history, the assassination of President John F. Kennedy.
My old man had a Yankee white clearance and he said the same thing about Johnson.
I bought a Yankee candle once and I think the same. My dad worked for the government, and he told me that anytime he had a meaningful interaction with someone who wasn't American, i.e. going over to my friend's house for Lunar New Year, or going on vacation to Canada, he had to report it all, and if he saw anything suspicious.
Yep. Went through a clearance upgrade and got asked about a couple of people that I know through friends who I didn't include on my paperwork and if I knew their background.
It's the nature of how they process the contacts you listed. They pretty much know that you aren't going to include people who don't like you and will tell your dirt. So they go to your old house and knock on doors to find people you didn't list on your EQIP, SF86. I said 182. That's a training form and one I just had to fill out last week, so apparently that number was on my mind. The form you fill out with your life history. They say, do you know Derpy Fox? They ask that person questions like would you trust Derpy Fox to hold a position of trust? They end with something like, do you know anyone else Derpy Fox was friends with when she lived here? They then repeat the process with that person to find the guy who will say something like, Derpy Fox. Yeah, I know them. They smoked so much WD in high school I used to get a contact high sitting next to them in bio class. Oh wait, you didn't report that DUs on your SF-182. Clearance denied. The deal is, if you stole a pack of gum when you were 5, this is an exaggeration. It wouldn't be reportable based on the time frame, just report it. As soon as they uncover something you didn't report, your integrity comes into question and you probably won't get the clearance. Source, went into the Marines at age 19 and have worked for the DoD in some capacity ever since, 23 years and counting.
So much this. I was no angel as a youth, but fully disclosing my youthful indiscretions went a very long way in my favor during the process.
I was so glad when the question changed from, have you ever been convicted or accused of AD or alcohol-related crime, to have you been convicted or accused of AD or alcohol-related crime in the last 7 or 10, can't remember exact details. I could stop explaining, in depth, the minor in possession of alcohol poo that happened when I was 16 years old and decided to have a beer in a parking lot of a HS football game at the exact time an undercover cop was walking to his car.
Ah man, I felt that. Lol.
I'm picturing meeting your dad in a bar or something. Hiya. I'm /thingy, from Australia. What you drinking there? Dad pulls out walkie-talkie. We got a 10 to 15. I repeat, a 10 to 15.
If they have to document every time an Aussie drinks, they're going to need a lot more manpower.
We are all told never to use sites like this, and social media in general is pretty much a no-go.
I'm telling.
You'll kill us all.
Not if we don't comment.
What if you've already heavily used them before applying? Do you get denied?
I think it would. Most people that work in the sector are definitely the private type for a reason. TBH, it's not what most people think it is. The CIA is 90% lawyers and the FBI is 90% accountants.
Lol, you dorks.
Oh, you're on a list now.
Name checks out.
Someone isn't following the rules. Eyes I38893J.
I'm not stupid, I know that spells boobies on a calculator upside down. Nice try. If you go through the FBI interview process, it takes a while. Chances are you're going to have to spend some time working on crimes against children, which is really tough and most people don't want to do it.
Yeah, I heard a story here on Reddit about how somebody was involved in a case against a predator, and he had to go through every image on his hard drive to flag anything that was child P. That case drove him out of the industry. I can't even imagine.
I read an article once about how the government has people whose job it is to look at disturbing videos, images from the internet and seized hard drives, mainly child P but also things like executions, to find clues to the location, identity of the people involved, etc. It's an important job, but the burnout rate is astronomical. A lot of them end up with PTSD, addiction issues, and other problems.
Like I said, I can't even imagine. Alcoholism would be nearly guaranteed if that was my job. Seeing things like that changes you.
Similar experience for me. I used to work for CPS and one case drove me to quit. I had a client who was a sexual predator and extremely narcissistic. He literally stated that he felt other humans were ants relative to him. He sexually abused his sister and had ARP conviction for which he served 2 years. When I got the file, he had started a pattern of starting relationships with single mothers of girls. He sought mentally delayed mothers and repeatedly, we suspected but could never prove, abused their daughters. It was maddening because it felt like such a huge failing that I could never get the smoking gun. Repeatedly I got court orders to ensure no contact with various kids. He responded by finding another vulnerable single mother of a daughter. Eventually he got one of said mothers pregnant. I got his parental rights to that child revoked. One day I was doing a wellness check on his mother and I found her crying in the kitchen of her home. Her adult son, this predator, had RPD her. I went on a mental health leave and upon my return 6 months later I quit.
Some people are just not wired right. It's scary what people with issues like that are capable of. I don't even want to think about how many individuals are damaged because of that one person, if you can even call him that.
I worked for the largest web hosting company on a planet at the time, and we had a guy whose job it was to answer these kinds of requests, go into databases for our customers, and give child P information to the FBI to kick off investigations. He had the hardest job I have ever known.
I used to work for a CDN, and part of my job was taking in reports of CP, verifying it and forwarding it on to our FBI contacts. I lasted 6 mo, and only because my wife and child would have starved otherwise. That was over a decade ago, still has me effed up. There are some effed up people in this world and they do some pretty effed up things.
In my college years I installed cable for Comcast. Saw some pooty things in people's homes. Called CPS more than a couple times. Edit. CPS is in Child Protective Services.
As a prior CPS worker, thank you for calling. So many folks just pretend they don't see anything, or don't want to upset the family. So many mandated reporters are afraid to file with CPS. That's against the law, but I've seen teachers, school staff and mental health professionals not file. It doesn't hurt to file. You can even call and ask in a what-if manner, what if a parent was doing this? Without giving info to see if you should file. You can remain anonymous. Please. Let CPS investigate if you have concerns. Edited to change CP to CPS, adding an edit to those who could benefit from reading more about disclosure of confidential child abuse and neglect records. Check this out. The PDF is informative.
The interchanging of CP to mean both child P and child protection in this thread is disturbing.
Yo, I didn't even think child P. I'm going to edit to CPS.
Yeah, I used to do computer repair around the same time. Saw lots and lots of things nobody shared. WTF do people take pictures of themselves doing those things? Stop it.
To be honest, at least if they take pictures there's a higher chance they will get caught and sentenced. So what you want is for them to stop doing it, abusing children, altogether, but if they don't, hope that they do take pictures and that they're careless and get caught soon after.
There is a book called Moscow Rules. It was written by 2 CIA people, all about, well, disguise. The CIA had all these agents in Russia, but the Russians were insane about following literally every single American in Russia, 24/7, looking for spies, so a huge part of their job was trying to shake off the KGB. They had crazy quick change disguises, all sorts of stuff. The movie Argo was based on one of the writers somewhat.
I negotiated huge deals with the Russian government. I was tailed 24/7. One time I didn't like the room the hotel gave me. I knew it faced the noisy side BC. I stayed there all the time. And instead of just giving me a new room, it was a 90-minute wait while they bugged a new room for me. Twice I had bizarro run-ins with very pushy, very hot women who allegedly wanted to F me so bad. Even if I was straight, hot in Russia is a mix between a Bratz doll and a hooker, so no thanks. Edit spelling.
Same in China. You only go with blank phones and every now and then your phone will do this little glitch as if it's being accessed.
That's because it probably is. https://www.cnet.com/news/china-is-reportedly-scanning-tourist-phones- with
I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but a mentor who definitely wasn't supposed to tell me used to be a white hat for the FBI. Apparently, all he did was search for pedophiles by tracking child pornography. He said he didn't stay for very long because it was messing with his mentality. Edit, if you guys were wondering, he left to join the Navy. Became a nuke M, but they pulled him out of the program because of his cybersecurity skills, and before I left our command, he was helping our CMC connecting his computer to a projector. Sorry to put you on the spotlight, EM1.
My college roommate was trying to get into the FBI, CIA, and she ended up with a job offer. She's the one person I know who could actually work for the FBI, CIA. She would wake up at 4 a.m. for a 15-plus mile run alone. She would choose to not eat after 8 p.m. to work on her self-control. She got all homework and stuff done before 5 p.m. every day and would study for her 2 language classes on the weekend. She was crazy diligent and had no social media. She never wanted to be photographed either. My brother is big into IT poo and scrubbed himself off the internet somehow and showed her how to do it. An ex-company man once told me Get Smart was more accurate than James Bond.
Pretty sure being a famous spy is a sign things aren't going well.
I watched Daniel Craig Bond films recently, and that's what stood out to me, just how many people, especially terrorists, knew Bond by name and appearance. Doesn't speak well for the OO program.
That's because 007 isn't a spy. He's an assassin and a troublemaker. He kills people and FS poo up.
Yeah. 007 isn't there to do recon. License to kill. That's it.
I saw a post the other day, can't remember if it was here or on Twitter, about how awful a spy Bond actually is. When you think about it, falls for damn near every honeypot, tells people his code name constantly.
I can see the value of having a poo blue agent. His job is to find the folks who are trying to find an agent and see what the hell they are up to. Basically counterintelligence by being so ham-fisted, visible and bungling that everything sticks.
So Archer,
who, it is worth pointing out, is not the world's greatest spy, or even greatest secret agent. He is the world's most dangerous secret agent.
Archer, here's a gigantic spy award for being the most dangerous secret agent 4 years running. No one's ever made it past their first. We're considering giving up on the whole ceremony and just mailing you these things until you're dead.
James Bond is the distraction while others do the real sabotage, spy work in the background.
This is pretty much canon. In the first 15 minutes of every Bond movie he arrives on scene and the first thing he does is hook up with a local intelligence agent who gives him a poo-load of info on what's going down. Bond's job is basically to physically deal with material, not to gather intel. So sometimes he blows poo up, sometimes he steals files that can't be accessed via networks, sometimes he escorts people to safety, and sometimes he caps a mother fur. But the second scene in any Bond film after the opening, Bond flirts with a girl, scene is someone else handing him a stack of info about his target.
So basically put, Bond is not actually a spy. Bond is more like a black ops agent or elite special forces of some sort.
There are different types of spies. For example, the CIA's most elite known group is Special Activities Division, SAD. It's divided into two groups: Political Action Group, SAD-PAG. These are your gunless deep cover sorts who undermine your government from the inside, over the course of decades. Then they have Special Operations Group, SAD-SOG. This is where CIA poaches Navy SEALs and Green Berets that can pass as regular civilians, the ones that don't look like Jocko Willink, dress them in a suit, send them into high-stakes poker games, kill someone important, and exfil themselves out of a hostile country on foot for a month of crawling through the impassable terrain. Bond is an MI6 equivalent to SAD-SOG, with the added glamour of being posh and British, and the post-WW2 characterization of the big bad living in Berlin or Moscow or Hong Kong, instead of modern bad guys living in like, Putti Cave in Kyrgyzstan, or Wall Street. Point is, they're probably a James Bond-type superspies, but instead of arriving first class on a Concorde, and exfil via Grand Theft Yacht, they infiltrate Tehran strapped to the underside of a pickup truck, and exfil by crawling all the way to the Persian Gulf. Slightly less glamorous, edit. Oh, also I completely forgot to talk about my headcanon for Bond movies. Try it out, it's fun. So, having a big distraction like Bond is actually a great thing, and having your SAD-SOG badass be that distraction totally makes sense. Because it's dangerous. Next time you watch a Bond movie, before Bond walks into a hotel lobby and loudly announces his presence via gestures broadly to everything about Bond, picture your SAD-PAG types arriving 30 minutes earlier and sitting at the bar, or taking a nap in a chair while they wait for their room to be cleaned. Bond walks in, and every enemy spy in the lobby turns to look and listen to him. And every covert MI6 agent is watching for who is watching Bond, and how much attention they're paying to him. Bond revealed himself. Most enemy agents just revealed themselves by watching him. It's dangerous because of the follow-up scene where the henchmen follow Bond into the stairwell and try to kill him, and Bond's covert team sit in the lobby and hope he survives, because they can't reveal themselves or make contact, even though they know he's in trouble. Pick some random background actors, and give them arbitrary allegiances. That one is CIA, that one is MI6, that one is Spectre, that one is KGB, etc.
Bond's a wet boy.
Exactly. He's not a spy. He's a fixer. His job is wet work. Edit. Definition of wet work.
Somebody should make movies about those guys, that can be seamlessly spliced into the existing 007 movies and tell the real story as it were.
I like the theory that Bond is a poo spy on purpose as a distraction from all the real spying going on.
That information should have stayed in the cone of silence.
Not an FBI or CIA officer here, but my sister is a district attorney, and over the years she has prosecuted a number of animal cruelty cases. This led to her having an ongoing partnership with the FBI for the last several years. It turns out the FBI started tracking animal abuse cases about 10 to 15 years ago due to the incredibly high correlation between abusing animals when you're young and becoming a serial violent offender as an adult.
Netflix getting in on that too about a year ago. Worked with a woman who was former NSA. We would always beg her to tell us poo, but she never did. The one thing she did say, though, was that during training they show them a video of a bunch of things they found out about and stopped. She said she hardly slept for 2 weeks after watching that.
I have a relative that retired from the NSA a few years ago. She has talked about a few things in generalities, nothing specific. Among them, she told me most of these things while trying to recruit me. She believed that I should go in knowing what to expect. I eventually declined to apply.
That is really a shame that the stigma is still there for psychological help. Are we still too proud to acknowledge that seeing the kind of poo they do has a serious toll on their mental health?
Yes. Same thing in the military.
Which is weird. I feel like it takes greater personal strength to maintain proper personal health than to let it degrade, and far greater strength to recognize, admit to, and seek help for issues. Like, if somebody who moves boxes in a warehouse or something feels their back aching chronically to the point where they have to drink to dull the pain, and proceeds refuse to even get it checked, are they cooler than the guy who wears a brace and regularly goes to their free physical checkups that the company offers? Doesn't that just make them dumb and negligent?
My aunt worked at the NSA, too. She never told us what she did. If anything, it was just about her coworkers. She convinced one to leave her abusive husband. Even if you wanted to get a job there, asking her what jobs they had was like trying to pull a tooth. She'd just say that any job outside of the NSA was in the NSA as well. As far as I know, she worked with foreign language stuff. BC, she's a bit of a polyglot.
Show them a video of a bunch of things they found out about them, the recruits. Or, like, general things the NSA found out as part of their work.
Probably examples of what they prevented, etc. Showing that while much of the work is thankless and boring, it's worth it when you finally catch some DK heads with plutonium or something.
I'm thinking of the scene with all the newspaper articles on the wall in Kingsman. But for real.
That's exactly it. I can only imagine how any failed or prevented attempts there must have been.
No, various plots the NSA had apparently stopped.
What kind of things? Did she elaborate at all?
Operation Ivy Bells was a plan to tap Soviet communication lines. The cover story they used was that they had divers diving down to recover fragments of a new Soviet supersonic anti-ship missile. The communication line tap was a failure due to a spy, however the dive teams successfully recovered all fragments of the missiles from the Soviet weapons tests. The US was able to reverse engineer one and subsequently learned they were radar-guided only and the assumed IR guidance did not exist.
Minor clarification, the tap was successful, and recordings were recovered by dive teams over many months. The tap was ultimately discovered by the Soviets because of information provided to them by Ronald Pelton, the spy you mentioned.
The book, Red November, has a pretty good write-up on the Ivy Bell missions.
The cover story they used was that they had divers diving down to recover fragments of a new Soviet supersonic anti-ship missile. I'm a bit confused. Wouldn't the Soviets be just as alarmed by the cover story? Edit, I got it after about the 10th time it was explained, guys.
Well, it might be alarming. But it's also an extremely believable lie for the Russians to cover up tapping communications. I'd assume studying baby seals may toss up more questions. Thank you for watching. We upload new videos every day, so be sure to come back for more fun. Please consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed the video.